Our story kicks off in a city that at first glance seems all peaceful and chill. Inside one of the apartments, there's this guy in a bright yellow shirt moving around the room like he's got springs in his feet. On the table in front of him, bottles of all sorts of colors are lined up. Some look normal. Others have these weird cryptic symbols. The guy is crouched on the floor, scrubbing hard at a stubborn stain with a black cloth. After a few moments, he straightens up, and this cold, unsettling smile creeps onto his face, the kind of smile that makes your heart beat faster for no good reason. When he's finally done cleaning, he plops down on the floor, all relaxed, and says to himself with a strange calm, had to clean up fast. His eyes are shining with a look full of confidence, like he knows no one's gonna find out what went down here. Not long after he's back on his feet, his steps are quiet, but there's this heavy, creepy vibe to them. He heads to the bathroom, starts washing his hands, and yeah, the danger is definitely dialed up to 10, his smile. Oh, it's saying a whole lot without a single word. Then he turns on the bathtub faucet. Water starts flowing, but not just any water. This deep, dark red. Yep, there are lifeless bodies floating on the surface, cold and silent, making the whole place feel like a horror movie set. He whispers to himself, time to clean up these bodies, and he says it like he's just doing the dishes, no regret, no fear. 11 hours later, the detectives finally show up. We see the lead detective all suited up in black, shaking hands with the security guys as he walks in. He turns to his partner. "You're here, how's it looking?" "Not good. Like really not good," his partner replies, sounding as if he just saw a ghost. The partner fills him in. The victim had a daughter in high school. He'd broken the news to her, the whole "your dad's dead" talk, while she was off at a resort trip. And when they got here, they found the place spotless. The detective in black nods. Looks like our killer hung around for a while. I'm getting some serious deja vu with the Ashahol Dong Sinyang murders. His partner raises an eyebrow. The distance between the two crime scenes is huge, and the methods aren't the same. "Yeah, but the killer's got this whole clean-up after yourself vibe going on," the detective in black insists. "So you're sure it's the same guy? What's the plan now?" his partner asks. "Security cameras, 3 neighborhoods around the crime scene. I want footage of anyone going in who doesn't belong, anyone looking shady," the black-clad detective says, already a step ahead. Meanwhile, far from the apartment, our killer is cruising down a dark road as chill as can be. The radio's spitting out news about the city's crime spree, and apparently the cops have posted his picture everywhere with a $10 million bounty. His expression nada, like he's listening to a weather report. He hits the gas, the road winding through the darkness until he reaches a quiet riverbank. Oh, and guess what? There are bodies in the trunk. Yeah, not creepy at all. He takes a sip of his drink, puffs on his cigarette, then calmly walks back to the car. He pulls the handbrake, and boom, the car rolls right into the river, sinking with all those bodies still in the trunk. As he leaves, he notices a spot where a tree's been freshly cut. He stares at the stump and mutters, "Who did this?" His voice gets a bit shaky. They must have been hiding something. Right then, another man stumbles out from the trees, looking tired and seriously freaked out. "Who are you?" he asks. The guy with the black hair just smirks. "Nothing's really changed, has it? The stranger's danger radar is pinging like crazy. Who are you? Really, are you from the village?" And yeah, things get messy. The black-haired guy's clearly not about to make friends, and it looks like the stranger's not walking away from this. But then out of nowhere, the stranger's daughter shows up and saves his bacon. She apologizes to Mr. Blackhair. "I'm so sorry, my dad's not in his right mind, you should leave." She turns to her dad, all soft and sweet. "Hey, this guy's a good man. Come on, day. Let's go home, grab a snack." She whispers to her dad, "Wait here. I'll go talk to him." The guy with the black hair stepped closer to her and she said, "I'm really sorry." He shrugged. "Nah, no big deal." She glanced at his backpack. "Why are you wearing a backpack? Are you like a tourist or something?" He chuckled. "Nope, just moved here." She raised an eyebrow. "Really? You only brought a backpack?" He nodded. "My grandma lives here." Her face twisted in confusion. "Wait, someone's grandma lives here who's—" "Yeah, Jamja," he said casually. Her brain did a quick mental rewind and then bam, her eyes widened with fear. "She died 3 years ago." He raised his eyebrows. "Oh, really? I had no idea." Her anxiety spiked and he threw in a mysterious grin. "I'm just kidding." She stared at him. "Not getting the joke? How can you joke like that?" She wasn't buying it. "I'm pretty good with faces," she said, "and I don't remember seeing you, not even at her funeral." Her unease grew. "Are you really her grandson?" "Yeah," he said, "but I didn't go to the funeral. Can you stop grilling me already?" She crossed her arms. "But if you're her grandson, why didn't you go to the funeral?" He took a step back. "Does it really matter?" "Of course it does," she insisted. "You want to live in her house, right?" He let out a sarcastic laugh. You're nuts. She shot back, what's so funny? He sighed. I'm not the only person who couldn't make it to the funeral. I had stuff going on. If you don't believe me, ask any of the old folks around here. Before the conversation could go nuclear, her dad suddenly appeared holding a snake he'd grabbed off the ground. She screamed, throw it away. The black-haired guy took the opportunity to slip away. Later, he made it to his grandma's house. He knew exactly where she'd hide the spare key, classic grandma move. Sure enough, he found it and slipped inside. But something felt off. The house was way too clean for a place that had been empty for 3 years. The utilities were still on, 2 lights, water, everything. His face darkened. He pulled out an axe, muttering, someone's definitely living here. He sat on the floor, gripping the axe, talking to himself. Maybe whoever's been here is hiding from something. Yeah, that's gotta be it. Suddenly, loud banging on the door jolted him out of his thoughts. He shoved the axe into his back pocket. Yep, just a casual pocket axe, and moved to the door. Standing outside was a man in a bright yellow shirt leading a group of worried-looking seniors and some younger folks. At the front was an old man, his expression as frosty as a freezer. With calm steps, the black-haired guy opened the door, slowly thinking, what the hell is this? The old man gave him a chilly smile. Hello there, who might you be? I'm No-Seek, the guy in charge around here. Are you Zhongjia's grandson? The black-haired guy stayed silent, his inner voice going, why the heck did they come all this way? Before he could respond, the yellow-shirted dude snapped. Why are you just standing there? Don't you hear the boss talking? The boss glared at him. Calm down. We're here to talk after all. Then turning back to the black-haired guy, so tell me, why are you here and how'd you get into the house? Did I do something wrong? The guy asked, still playing it cool. I'm really her grandson, I'm not lying. The yellow-shirted guy grabbed him by the neck. Show some respect, you punk. The old man cut in. Hey, don't tell him what to do. Then, in one swift motion, the black-haired guy twisted the younger guy's arm until everyone heard that sickening crunch of bones, followed by a headbutt that shattered his nose. The guy dropped to the ground, howling in pain. The old man nodded. Sorry about that, one of my guys got a bit enthusiastic. All good, all good, the black-haired guy muttered, brushing off the tension. The old man turned to the group. All right, let's head back. Looks like he really is Zhongjia's grandson. But the black-haired guy wasn't done. Hold on a second. The old man stopped. What now? The house, he said. It's in great condition. Too good. Who's been living here? The old man hesitated, then replied, That's impossible. Your grandmother left without saying goodbye to her family, so the villagers take turns cleaning the place, just to keep busy. As they walked away, the yellow-shirted guy whispered to the old man, Is you seriously gonna let him live here, boss? The old man didn't respond directly. Instead, he looked up at the house's roof. There, a creepy, ghost-like figure danced, its movements unsettling. Later, the girl from before came back. The black-haired guy asked her, got any smokes? She eyed him. Why'd the village chief leave so easily? He smirked. Are you the reason he left? No, she said quickly, a bit too quickly. He raised an eyebrow. Then why so jumpy? She pressed on. Why did he leave? He grinned. The guy's smart. He realized I own the place. She bit her lip. You're gonna regret this, I know. As she started to walk away, he called out, Hey, what's the deal? She stopped. You don't have a pillow, do you? No. Stay here, she said, disappearing for a bit. When she returned, he was gone. She knocked, and when he opened, she asked, Why didn't you wait for me? She handed him a pillow and a blanket. Why are you doing this? He asked. What? 1 minute you're accusing me, now you're helping me. Isn't that weird? She looked away. I'm sorry for doubting you. I thought you weren't the real owner. She handed him the pillow and left. After she was gone, he sat on the floor staring at the pillow. Then out of nowhere, he jumped up and hacked it open with his axe. Inside, a yellow piece of paper slipped out. His expression shifted: fear, confusion, disbelief. What the hell is this? The next morning, he was up early doing push-ups with laser focus. He knocked out 100 reps. After his workout, the black-haired guy sat down, catching his breath. The yellow card lay in front of him again. The words, What is your intention, staring back at him. Just then, the sound of a rooster crowing filled the air. And then, bam, the guy in the yellow shirt showed up holding a white chicken. His older brother, looking at him in total disbelief, asked, What the hell are you doing? The yellow-shirted guy smirked. The boss needs a white chicken. His brother scowled. Yeah, and why do you keep taking my chickens? This isn't the first time. If you need one, go buy it from the market. Why do you keep stealing mine? The yellow-shirted guy just shrugged. You talk too much, just let me borrow it. His brother tensed up. The boss didn't tell you to take a chicken, did he? Yellow shirt sighed dramatically. Geez, you're so uptight. Relax, and without another word, he grabbed the chicken and walked off. Meanwhile, deep in the woods, the black-haired guy was running out of breath, sweat dripping down his face. Finally, he stopped panting. I can't run anymore. Should I quit smoking? He muttered to himself. As he caught his breath, he spotted the old man arguing with his brother over the chicken. His brother was fuming. I already told you I need it. The older brother grumbled, fine, then pay up and go buy your own damn chicken. The yellow-shirted guy just laughed mockingly and smacked his brother right across the face. Right then, the village boss showed up and saw the whole mess. With a sigh, he said, I'll cover the cost of the chicken. Sitting at a distance, the black-haired guy watched the whole ridiculous scene unfold. He chuckled to himself. Since when was this town so entertaining? Last time I was here, I was with my dad and we didn't even stay long. Just then, the girl from before showed up again. Shouldn't we avoid getting involved if we stick around too much? We might miss out on some beautiful scenery, she said. She eyed him. What are you doing just sitting here? Let's go. He gave her a side glance. What's going on with you since yesterday? What do you mean? She asked. I mean, why are you suddenly so interested in me? He said flatly. She shrugged. You said you were staying in the village, right? Yeah? And? She sighed. So obviously I'm interested, that's why. He narrowed his eyes. You said you'd take care of me. Does that have anything to do with slipping this yellow paper into my pillow? He pulled out the card, showing it to her. Her eyes widened in shock. Wait, how did you? He smirked. I just pay close attention to things. I don't trust people easily. I kept wondering what it meant. Still don't know, so mind telling me why you hid it in my pillow? She hesitated. Would you believe me if I told you? Try me? He crossed his arms, waiting. She took a deep breath. It's a talisman. It wards off ghosts. There are a lot of ghosts in this village. He raised an eyebrow. So you put it there, 'cause of ghosts. He let out a sarcastic chuckle before ripping the paper in half. Her eyes widened. What are you doing? He waved her off. I don't believe in that superstitious nonsense. Then with a teasing smirk, he added, but hey, thanks for caring. If ghosts do show up, I'll come running to you. And with that, he turned and walked away. Meanwhile, the old man from earlier sat alone, clearly pissed off. A damn kid smacked me in the face, and he didn't even apologize, but he sure looked scared when the boss saw it. That was hilarious. As he spoke, he was sharpening his knife, the metal glinting under the dim light. Then with a cold stare, he grabbed the chicken and slit its throat. Watching the blood drip down, a thought crossed his mind. Maybe I should do the same to the guy who slapped me. In the middle of the night, the old man, Seung-sik, went to Hyun-sop's house, filled with rage and seeking revenge. He knocked on the door and shouted, Hyun-sop, open up! Hyun-sop answered from behind the door. Who's there? Seung-sik replied. It's Seung-sik. I came to get my money for the chickens you stole from me. He raised his knife with a wicked grin. You open up, don't be scared. Hyun-sop opened the door and Seung entered, seeing Hyun-sop standing there, cool as ever. Hyun-sop calmly asked, What are you doing here knocking at my door at this hour, man? Are you crazy? Seung, holding the knife up, said, I came to see you. Where were you? Hyun-sop saw the knife and said, You really think you're gonna kill me with that thing? You scared of your mom? Seung, grinning, said, Sure, my mom and the boss are scary, but don't you see I'm scary too? Hyun-sop laughed and said, Who do you think you are? Nobody's scared of you. That's when Seung lost it. He rushed at Hyun-sop shouting, Don't talk to me like that again, and tried to stab him, but Hyun-sop dodged the attack, grabbed Seung's wrist and said, Have you lost your mind? You trying to kill me? He punched Seung, knocking him to the ground, throwing the knife away. How dare you do this to me? Even though I've put up with your nonsense, you tried to kill me. You must be messed up in the head. Then, when the sun came up, Yoon-mayeon was waiting outside his house. When he saw her, he was surprised and asked, What are you doing here? Why are you waiting for me? She told him, There's a village meeting, and it's about you. Hyun was confused. A meeting about me? What's going on? She grabbed his hand and said, No time to explain. Come on. Everyone's been waiting for you. She dragged him along, and he was confused by everything. When they got to the meeting spot, she quickly told him, Listen, Just agree with everything they say and act like you understand. At the meeting, the village chief, Hyun Sop, and some other men were sitting. The village chief looked at Hyun Mayung and said, "What's up with him? Acting all important?" Yen, confused, asked the chief, "What's this about? Why am I here? You've messed up my whole routine." The chief casually pulled out a cigarette. "Oh, really? Sorry, wasn't intentional." The others looked at him with anger for talking back to their leader. The chief asked, "What are you planning to do here? What role do you think you can play?" Ian replied, "I don't even know what you're talking about. What kind of service do you want from me?" The chief, after a pause, said, "Since you're young and strong, how about joining Hyun Sop and Seok to help stop crime?" Gen, cold as ice, said, "Sorry, I'm not interested. This village is a place to relax for me." And he walked away, leaving them all frustrated. Everyone around asked the chief, "How can you just let him walk away like that? How can he live here if he refuses to help us?" But the chief calmly said, "Relax, I'll let my mom talk to him. She'll make him understand how things work here." Then someone asked, "But where's Seong-sik? Do you know where he is, Hyun Sop?" Hyun Sop hesitated and said, "We had a fight yesterday." The chief cut him off. "Forget it. I don't want to know. Let's go. I need to pray." Meanwhile, Hyun Mayung was running after Hyun and tried to stop him. She asked, "What's your name?" He replied, "Hyun Mayung." She said, "Why'd you do that?" "I told you to go along with them." Hyun asked, "Why would I? I don't want to help anyone." She warned him, "If you want to stay here, you need to listen to the chief. You don't know what he can do." He just shrugged it off and said, "Let him do whatever he wants." Later, the chief was in a temple, doing some weird ritual, mumbling strange words, and offering a chicken as a sacrifice. He drowned himself in the chicken's blood, saying, "Thank you for saving me, Mom." Then, in a dark part of the village, a car was driving with a man, his wife, and their little son. The boy said, "I want to be a cop like Dad when I grow up." The dad replied, "But that job's hard and dangerous. You sure you want to be a cop?" The boy answered with enthusiasm, "Yeah, I want to protect you and Mom. If anyone ever messes with you, I'll take care of them." The mom said, "Oh, my strong boy." The dad joked, "Well, if you want to mess people up, how about being a secret cop? You'll be the one to decide the punishment, like a prosecutor." The boy got excited. "Yeah, that sounds way cooler." The dad said, "All right, but just so you know, I'll be the one calling you names when you have to pay for law school." At that moment, another car pulled up and blocked their way. Suddenly, it hit them, and men in masks came out of the car, killing the dad. One of them asked the leader, "What should we do with the boy and the mom?" The leader said, "Let the boy go. Finish off the mom." The boy begged them, "Please don't hurt my mom." But they said goodbye and killed her in front of him. Then, Han Mayung woke up from a nightmare, drenched in sweat. At Song-sik's house, his wife had made chicken and was about to set it on the table, but she found him drinking and angrily said, "Why are you drinking so early? You went out last night with a knife, all angry, and now you're getting drunk? Don't you think you could die like this?" Seong-sik snapped, "Mind your business and be quiet." She took the food away and said, "Fine, I'll save it for Hyun Mayung then. Why should I eat with a guy like you?" Seong got furious and knocked the food off the table. She yelled at him, "How could you throw food on the floor? Isn't this the guy who saved you from your mom getting mad at you for your actions?" Seong fuming said, "What, Mom? I did all this because that bastard mocked me, and now you want me to leave food for him?" Even the old man in the village knows what happened but still acted like he didn't. The wife raised her hands and apologized for the mom. Outside, Seong-sik was still drinking, muttering to himself, "It's all because of my mom, the boss, and Hyun Mayung. I'm gonna kill them all." Suddenly, he heard a voice. "Uncle, what are you doing here?" It was Jace Eam holding some peaches. She said, "Aunt Jisson told me to bring you these. They're fresh." "Seong still drunk asked, 'What's that in your hand?'" Jace Ian said, "It's some peaches. Do you want some, since you don't have any food?" Seong asked, "What are you doing here? This isn't your way home." She innocently replied, "You know the new guy in the village, right? He's alone, so I thought I'd give him some peaches." Seong, drunk, stared at her and said, Why are you looking at me like that? Are you disgusted by me? She replied, No, you're just really drunk. Seong, angry, said, Why can't you just leave me alone? You're even taking peaches to that weird guy. Why does everyone in this village keep bothering me? He grabbed a knife and scared her. Why are you doing this to me? Jae-seon said, Calm down, I'll leave. He grabbed her arm and said, So now you're ignoring me for that guy. I don't trust him since the day he came here. He's behind everything. I need to get rid of all of you. He chased her, grabbing her by the hair, but she managed to break free. She ran, and he chased her, thinking this would be the end for her, until she reached Han An-young's house. She knocked hard on the door and kept screaming, Seung, please, open the door! But Seong-sik had already reached her and said, You came here, and now it's time to say goodbye, then lunged at her with a knife. But suddenly, Seong-sik found himself punched in the face by Hyun Ma-young, who had opened the door just in time, knocking him to the ground. Jin Ma-young looked at Jae-seon and asked, What's going on this early in the morning? What's all the noise about? Jae-seon was freaking out, crying, and said, Uncle Sang was going to kill me? I'm so scared. He never acts like this. I don't know what's wrong with him. Hyun Ma-young noticed the cut on Jae-eon's hand and reassured her, The wound's not serious. Don't worry, he thought to himself. Seong-sik must still be new to this village. Suddenly, Seong-sik stood up and said, Nice. If I kill both of you right now, I'll solve everything. Hyun Ma-young took a deep breath, thinking to himself, This village is so weird. People drink and walk around the streets with knives? He then asked Jae-seon, Do you want to go to hospital? She replied, No need. The cut is small. Out of nowhere, Seong-sik's rage took over and he attacked again, shouting, It's your time to die. Hyun Ma-young yanked the towel off Jae-eon's injured hand and used it to strike Seong-sik. He kept hitting him until Sang-sik collapsed to the ground. He looked at Jae-seon and said, I think it's over now. But Jae-seon told him, We need to tell the villagers about what he did. Seong-sik glared at them strangely. Hyun thought for a second and said, You're right, it's like a thorn in the throat. He's still standing in front of us, so let's finish him off. He continued to beat Seong-sik with all his might until Seong-sik couldn't stand anymore. But Jae-seon screamed, Stop, Hyun Ma-young! He'll die in your hands. Please stop. He's really going to die. Hyun Ma-young stopped, looked at her, and asked, Are you okay? Jae-seon was terrified and asked, Did he die? What happened? You didn't kill him, did you? Hyun Ma-young replied, Something strange about this guy. He lost consciousness but kept trying to fight back even when I was choking him. His eyes were still pleading. Jae-seon screamed, It's impossible. He's been possessed by a ghost. Hyun Ma-young responded, You're saying the same thing again? Jae-seon insisted, I've always seen strangers at night, and even though you saw it with your own eyes, you're still denying it. There are so many ghosts in this village. As she spoke, blood was dripping from her hand onto the ground. Suddenly, something strange happened. She felt it, and then ran quickly inside Hyun Ma-young's house. Hyun Ma-young asked, Where are you going? What are you doing? Are you out of your mind? She was searching the ground. What are you ignoring me for? What are you doing here on the ground? She responded, There's something strange here. She kept digging until she found something and said, This wasn't like this. She pulled something from the hole and said, This wasn't here before. Hyun Ma-young asked, What's that? Are you possessed by a ghost too? She replied, No, it's Seong-sik. Believe me, Ma-young, someone used this chicken rice. He asked, Chicken rice? What are you talking about? She explained, They use it to curse their enemies. But the question is, why is it here in your house? I have to burn it. I'm sure there's meat in this jar, she added. Hyun Ma-young, skeptical, said, Meat for a sacrifice. He broke the jar in her hands, and it shattered on the ground. What did you do? She asked. I had to burn it. They looked inside the jar and found rice and a chicken head. Hyun Ma-young shrugged. Sorry, curiosity almost killed me. Jae-seon said, Please, you need to understand, this is serious. He nonchalantly said, All right, sure. But Jae-eon noticed that the rice and the chicken head were changing somehow. She called for Hyun Ma-young. Something's wrong with it. He asked, Why are you calling me again? she said. It looks like whatever was attacking us got broken. They left the house, and Jace Eon noticed Seong-sik had run off. We need to tell the villagers what happened, she said. Jin Mayung replied, let's check on your hand first. But I want to ask you something. You see anything over there? She looked at him confused. Why are you asking? He said, you easily found that broken pottery in the flower bed, and I'm not as good as you with this stuff. She responded, weren't you not interested in this at first? Why are you taking it seriously now? He said honestly, you're the first person I've met like this. Meanwhile, Seong-sik was hiding from them, thinking to himself, I need to leave this place if I want to survive. He ran out. Shun Mayung and Jace Ian went to the village chief's meeting and told him everything. The chief responded with a dismissive tone, saying, so Seong-sik had a knife and was threatening everyone? Yen Mayung shot back, you think we're making this up? One of the men yelled, you're lying! Seong-sik would never do that. Shin and Jaehyun's wound. Look, she didn't hurt herself. I stopped Seong-sik before he could kill her. The chief asked, where is Seong-sik now? Hyun Mayung replied, I was treating her hand. When we left, he was gone. The chief ordered, someone find Seong-sik now. Everyone in the meeting was upset, asking the chief what to do now. Seong-sik's wife said, you know he's not like that. These people are trying to turn us against each other. The chief responded, let's wait and see when Seong-sik shows up. Jae-seon said, we need to call the police. This was an attempted murder. Everyone looked at her angrily. The chief asked, are you sure about this? If you want to call the police, go ahead. Jae-seon hesitated. You're right. You're the one who runs this village. Hyun Mayung noticed her change of tone and looked at her with suspicion. He then heard Seong-sik's wife speaking to the chief outside, saying, you really don't believe what they've said, do you? The chief replied, you need to believe it. You know Seong-sik was chosen and had opportunities from his mother. But Seong-sik's wife pleaded, please don't say that. The chief sighed and said, I prayed, but Seong-sik wasted every opportunity. Unfortunately, you need to understand he will be punished by his mother. Seong-sik's wife screamed, stop with this nonsense! You know, he's already fled the village. The chief calmly said, his mother won't allow that. As Hyun Mayung walked away, confused by everything he had just heard, Seong-sik was running, thinking to himself, why am I stuck here in this village? Why can't I find my way out? He collapsed and thought, why is this happening to me? Something's wrong? I've lived here my whole life, and now I can't even find my way out of the mountains. I get it now. You, Mom, must think I'm a lost cause. You abandoned me and left me here because I'm useless now. I've been listening to you my whole life, and this is how it ends. I understand everything now. Suddenly, he heard someone behind him and asked, Mom, did you send him? But it wasn't his mom. It was Hyun Mayung. Seong-sik said, take me back to the village. I need to do something. Hyun Mayung replied, I have my own business to take care of. Hyun Mayung pulled out a blade. Seong-sik laughed. You're trying to drive me crazy, huh? Hyun Mayung said, mercy's not for you. You're gonna hell. Seong-sik said, now my mind is clear. Tell me, why do you want to kill me? Do we have some kind of beef? Hyun Mayung replied, you don't know why I'm here? Seong-sik shook his head, no idea, but take me home first. I don't know how I ended up here, lost in the mountains. Hyun Mayung scowled. You really keep bringing up your cursed mother. Seong-sik told him, wait, think about how you found me in these mountains. How did you know where I was? Hyun Mayung laughed. Don't tell me your mom told me where you were, so I could kill you. Seong-sik said, what did I do? Hyun Mayung said, are you scared now because you don't have your weapon? Seong-sik swore, I swear, I don't know what you're talking about. Hyun Mayung said, doesn't matter what you say now, you're just a cornered animal. He slashed at Seong-sik. Feel the pain now, huh? What are you waiting for? At the same time, the chief's men were looking for Seong-sik, wondering, where did he go? The chief said, he won't be able to leave the mountain. We need to find him. At that moment, Seong-sik asked Hyun Mayung, was it the chief who sent you? Did he tell you to kill me? Hyun Mayung replied, what are you saying? Are you dreaming or just acting dumb? Seong-sik insisted, Don't lie, he must have told you to do it. Hyun Mayung shot back. No, don't play innocent. He then struck Seong-sik with an axe on his shoulder. Seong-sik fell to the ground, but Hyun Mayung grabbed him by the throat and said, "Shut up, or I'll kill you. I'll pull the axe out of your shoulder, and don't you dare scream. If you understand, nod." Hyun Mayung removed the axe and let Seong-sik fall to the ground. He looked at him and said, "So you're still holding on to your life, all right? See that tree over there? If you can reach it, I'll let you live." Seong-sik got up and started walking towards the tree. Hyun Mayung was surprised, thinking to himself, this guy really wants to hold on to life. Sang-sik, meanwhile, was pleading to his mother to save him from Hyun Mayung. Hyun Mayung laughed at him, mocking his faith in his cursed mother. "Come on, Sang-sik, just a few more steps, and you'll reach the tree. But you didn't think I might kill you on the way, did you?" At that moment, Seong-sik died from fear. He said, "You were the messenger of death." Hyun Mayung struck him with the axe and killed him. "No, I just wanted to have some fun." Then he felt someone else was with him, hiding, and he thought, "Looks like I wasn't the only one who got here looking for you." Meanwhile, the chief's men approached the body and said, "We heard the noise from here and found Seong-sik's body." Hyun-sop said, "You should have known that this would happen when you grabbed that knife." But one of the men hit him, knocking Hyun-sop to the ground, saying, "Show some respect for the dead, and remember that mother is always watching." He told Hyun-sop, "Now pray, and then we'll go tell the chief." Hyun Mayung, hidden and watching, thought to himself, they'll definitely think this is a murder, especially if they report it to the police. Should I get rid of the weapon now? There are so many things going on with this. I need to wait. Looks like I played too much. The men finished their prayers, then called the chief, saying, "We found him, but someone killed him." The chief gave instructions to burn the body so that its spirit could rest. I'm sure he doesn't want anyone to know we found him. Hyun Mayung analyzed the situation. This is a setup destroying the evidence and distorting the body. That's a crime on its own. Hyun Mayung returned to the village, feeling relaxed, and met Jace Ian on the road. She asked, "What are you doing here?" He replied, "Where were you?" She said, "I was walking in the center of the village." "Were you waiting for me?" Jace Ian explained, "I wasn't waiting for you. I just couldn't calm down from what happened, so I went outside for some fresh air." "But tell me, did something good happen?" Hyun Mayung teasingly asked. "Do you really think so?" Jace Ian said, "I thought you were smiling because something good happened." He answered slyly, "Maybe I'm happy because I saw you." She nervously replied, "I was worried you'd think I was strange because I couldn't call the police about the incident. You probably think badly of me now, right?" Hyun Mayung just stared at her, silent. She excused herself and walked home, but he stopped her and said, "That's not what I think about you. Everyone has their own situation, including you and me." She thought to herself, "I'm sure he sees it as a mistake, and with the disappearance of Uncle Seong from the village, I think it's better I stay away from Hyun Mayung." Meanwhile, at a distant location, the chief was speaking to his men, confirming that they had burned Seong-sik's body. One of his men asked, "Are you sure it was the mother's order? Shouldn't we know who killed him?" The chief responded, "Just do as I told you, burn the body properly. We can't have anyone knowing we found him." The man replied, "Understood, we did it as you ordered." Later, Hyun Mayung reflected, this whole situation is being manipulated. They're hiding evidence and distorting the crime scene, which is a crime in itself. In the temple, the chief was asking his god, "Tell me who did this? Who is able to hide themselves from me? Who could commit such a horrible act to Sang-sik? Show me their face." Suddenly, the chief had a vision of Seong-sik sacrificing a chicken, placing its head in a jar of rice, and drowning it in blood. The chief realized, "Now I understand. Seong-sik made a sacrifice, but to whom and why? Could it be that his mother abandoned him?" Meanwhile, Jace Ian was walking alone when a man appeared behind her and offered to walk her home. She said, "Don't worry, everyone here knows me and I know them. There's no danger." The man replied, "There's still danger. It's better if I walk you home." When he put his hand on her, she shoved him and said, "Why are you overreacting? People might think I was in danger." The man asked, "Why are you reacting like this?" She apologized and said, "I need to go." He jokingly said, "Okay, did you think about what I said? I could keep an eye on you and your father. She laughed, but he grabbed her hand. Suddenly her father appeared, charging at the man and saying, "If you touch her again, I'll kill you." The man walked away furious. Jae-yeon asked her father, "How did you know I was here?" Her father smiled. "I wanted some chocolate cookies, so I thought I'd look for you to ask if I could have some." She replied, "Of course, but just one." Later, Hyun Ma-young arrived home, feeling uneasy and noticing something strange in his garden. "I wonder what's buried here. It must be Jae-yeon, but whatever it is, I need a shower and some rest." Suddenly, Seong-sik's wife started banging on the door, screaming, "Where are you? Open the door now!" Hyun Ma-young went to the door and asked, "What's going on now? Do you even know what time it is?" She demanded, "Where's my husband? What have you done to him?" He smiled and said, "How should I know?" She asked nervously, "Why are you smiling?" He replied, "It's just really funny. Your husband hurt someone in front of me, and you were insisting he didn't do it. Now you're coming here asking me where he is?" She grabbed him and said, "You're really rude. Who said you were a victim?" He pulled her hand off him and said, "People aren't considered wise when they get older. Your husband went crazy all of a sudden, grabbed a knife, and it was clear he meant to kill. If I hadn't stopped him, he would have killed that girl. So instead of being rude, you should apologize. Do you understand?" She said, "I'm really sorry. I've been ignorant all my life, only knowing how to work in the fields. I've always acted foolishly. But can you please tell me where my husband went?" He said, "I honestly don't know. He left when I left the house." She cried and walked away, saying, "What should I do now? Where could he have gone?" Afterward, Hyun Ma-young went into the bathroom, feeling watched, and thought, "Who in the village has the same build as me? I'm getting more nervous than I should be." Meanwhile, Seong-sik's wife thought to herself, "I saw blood on Hyun Ma-young's clothes. It must be my husband's blood. I'm really worried. Where'd that man go?" In the mountains, the chief's men were throwing Seong-sik's ashes, just as they were told. They made a call and said, "Don't forget, we didn't find anything." The next morning, Jae-yeon found Hyun Ma-young in the village meeting hall and asked, "What happened? Why are you here?" She teasingly asked, "Was your curiosity going to kill you, so you came here?" Hyun Ma-young smiled. "What do you think his mother would say after one of the village members disappeared?" The meeting began and the chief said, "You all witnessed Seong-sik attacking Hyun-sop with a knife, but his mother forgave him. Then he attacked Jae-yeon and ran away. I tried, but couldn't stop him. Hyun-sop and Seong-sik searched for him in the mountains and are witnesses. At that point, Young said, Hyun-sop and I tried to bring him back, but we couldn't find him." Seong-sik's wife said, "You won't find him. He was burned." She then added, "My heart is broken." Everyone in the meeting stared at her, feeling the tension. She continued, "Of course you won't find him. Why are you bothering me, bringing it up again?" Hyun-sop tried to comfort her, but the chief stopped him. Suddenly, she turned to Hyun Ma-young and said, "You killed him." Everyone in the room pointed at him. Hyun Ma-young replied, "You did this in front of my house yesterday, then apologized." "Now you're repeating it again? I'm out of this meeting." She snapped, "So now you're running away? I saw blood on your neck yesterday." Hyun Ma-young replied calmly, "Am I running away? No, I don't see any point in talking to you. You're accusing me of murder just because there was blood on my neck?" Jae-yeon spoke up. The blood on his neck wasn't from Seong-sik. When he was protecting me from Seong-sik, a nail scratched his chin. That's the source of the blood, and you can see the scratch on his chin. The chief said, "That makes sense to me. What do you think, madam?" He added, "I know your pain, but we can't accuse the new neighbor like this. It could be a trick from the spirits. But I promise you, I'll pray tonight and find out what happened. I'll send my men to search for him again. Now, everyone back to your work." At the police station, the chief inspector was yelling at his officers, "We've searched everywhere and nothing's worked." He pointed at one officer. "You insisted on opening the investigation and claimed you've solved cases like this before. What do you have to say?" The officer said, "Sir, it's only been 10 days. The inspector replied, "And you haven't done anything except look at the surveillance footage." The officer explained, "Yes, but releasing news about the case confuses the killer and makes him stop the killings for a while." the inspector asked. Do you realize the media pressure we're under now that it's a public case? The officer responded, because it's a series of murders. It had to become a public investigation. But we stopped the killer a while ago, didn't you notice? The inspector said anyway. Resolve this faster. The officer replied, we've been working day and night on this file, and the cameras haven't shown anyone with the same bag in the crime scene. But we've found people close to him with the same bag. The inspector was surprised. So you want to start investigating them now? The officer said yes, and we're starting with them immediately. The officer's friend asked, how do you confront the inspector so boldly? Don't you think we should question the victim's son first? The officer responded, how do you want me to interrogate a 15-year-old who lost both his parents 10 days ago? The second officer replied, but the chief said so. The first officer chuckled and asked, so what will you ask him? How was your school trip? The boy reached the place when everything had already ended and the crime was over. Then, the victim's daughter entered the police station for questioning. They asked her, what did you see? She replied, I didn't see anything, and I've told you that before, but I'm willing to help in any way I can to catch the person who killed my dad and mom. The officer asked, are you sure you can't remember anything new? She said, yes. My dad's other car is missing since the day of the incident. I think the criminal took it. The officer was surprised to hear there was another car involved, and it seemed like he had found a clue. Meanwhile, in the village, the chief's men were sitting with him. They said, we've been watching Hun Mayung for days. He's a person with no fixed routine, and it's very hard for us to get into his house and search it. But there's something that's scaring us. What if we're cursed because of this crime? That's dangerous for us. The chief replied, of course. If we fall into the curse, no matter how bad it is, you could end up killing yourself, getting sick, or even burning your soul. But ghosts can never force you to kill yourself. Song asked, so, who made this curse? Didn't the mother tell you anything? The chief said no. The mother showed me Song sick performing the curse. He buried it in Hyun Mayung's house. Song then said, that's why you want us to search Hyun Mayung's house. Hyun Sop, at that moment, said, I told you I was right when I said the killer is Hyun Mayung. But the chief replied, I don't understand why Seong Sik would do that to the new neighbor. I just hope none of us buried that curse in the young man's house. They continued their search and surveillance on Hyun Mayung and his house. But then, Hyun Sop asked, if Seong Sik performed the curse, could it affect him too? The chief, with fear in his voice, said, there is a way. Hyun Sop asked, what's that way? The chief explained, if you have a killing intent inside you and someone curses you with something, it might turn back on them. Hyun Sop was startled and asked, what's that way? The chief laughed and said, don't worry. In any case, Seong Sik has finally found peace. Just keep watching him my own. He added, what we know for sure is that Seong Sik was killed, and don't forget to take the boxes with you while you're leaving. On the way, Song and Hyun Sop said to each other, let's go out today since the weather is nice. Meanwhile, Hyun Mayung was buying medicine and opened his bag in front of a boy at the shop. The boy noticed that the bag was full of money. Once Hyun Mayung left, the boy called someone else and said, there's a stranger in the village with a bag full of money, and I've never seen him before. What do you think we should do about it? Gather the crew and get ready, came the reply. At the police station, the officers went out for a break and said, we'll finish up and then return to the crime scene. But one of them asked, why did the victim have another unregistered car? He must have been doing something illegal. This could be a case of revenge for sure. When the chief's men arrived at a place to relax, they noticed Hyun Mayung was there, and they knew they had to leave before he saw them. They were frustrated that he ruined their fun and quickly left the taxi, which had been in front of Hyun Mayung, who was looking for a taxi at that moment. Later, the officers arrived at a restaurant, and one of them went inside. The other said, I'll have a cigarette and then join you. At that moment, Hyun Mayung passed by with his bag, which had appeared in the surveillance footage in front of the officer. The officer saw it and became suspicious of Hyun Ma-young, and the place is super quiet. Then Myung shows up, standing there asking someone, shall we play here? We see a couple of people's legs walking by, and then boom, those same people show up and say, finally found you. One of them says, did you know I was chasing you? Then he asks, why'd you pick a place like this to hide? Fine, drop the bag and I'll let you run. Myung laughs while stretching his arm and says, they say kids these days are scary. The leader asks, is this bastard warming up? Then the leader asks, why do you want to fight us? Myung says, well, it's not like that. Then he grabs the leader of the gang and starts beating him up with knees to the face, punches, and just totally wrecks him. Afterward, he looks at him and laughs. Next, you'll be the one getting beaten, Let. One of the gang members turns to his buddy and says, how the hell did he do all that? He tells his friend, pull out the knife you've got. His buddy pulls out the knife, and when Myung sees it, he's like, wow, this knife-making thing's about to turn into a criminal act now? The guy with the knife says, I'm gonna stick this in your ass, and suddenly, a man bursts in yelling at one of the criminals. Did you say you're tough? One of the criminals says, who the hell are you, some ghost? Why are you yelling like that? Go mind your own business. The guy responds, I'm someone who can't walk away. One of the gang members replies, damn, seriously? And he asks, are you a cop? The guy pulls out his badge and says, yeah, I'm a cop. Then he asks them, so you guys are jumping on this poor guy to steal his money? And one of you has a knife. He tells Myung, sorry buddy, what do they want from you? Myung responds, they're trying to steal my money, and one of them's got a knife. The cop says, you're all under arrest for armed robbery. One of the gang tries to charge at him, but the cop grabs him, beats him up, and handles all of them. Later, we see Myung walking away with a bag, and the cop asks, where are you going, victim? He doesn't answer, just keeps walking. Then we cut to two guys standing outside looking at something in a house. Han-seop says to the leader, how are we gonna get inside? The leader says, keep your shoulder close to mine, and I'll get the door open from the inside. Yoon-seop says, got it? And climbs over the gate, opens the door, and gets in. Then we jump to Myung, who's driving and says, I have a bad feeling about this. Meanwhile, we see Han-seop and the leader inside the house, tearing it apart, literally wrecking the place. They can't find what they're looking for, and the leader starts getting frustrated with Hyun-seop, saying, what the hell did you do? Get this mess cleaned up. Hyun-seop responds, you made the chaos, not me. We could have just busted down the door and entered easily. The leader says, fine, clean it up then. Hyun-seop says, we're wasting time here. Suddenly, there's a knock at the door and they freak out. Then we cut back to Myung in the car. The driver is confused and says, looks like something's happening ahead. Myung asks, hey, can you pull up a bit? The driver asks, why? What's going on? Myung says, honestly, I just want to see what's going on, and I want to smoke too. They get closer and spot the cops pulling out the car Myung threw into the water in the last episode. The cop tells them, you can't come any closer. Myung replies, all right, and tells the driver, let's go. Then the driver asks, you heading to Gwichon? Myung says, yeah. Then suddenly, Myung tells the driver, wait, hold up, 30 seconds, please. The driver is startled, and they see the cop talking to the investigator saying, the car has been pulled out. The investigator asks, how did you find it? There are no cameras around here. The cop responds, we really thought we were going to die tracking it down. Now we see Myung laughing like a villain, and then we cut back to the apartment where Han-seop is sitting on the floor saying, do I really have to clean this up? I've never even cleaned my own place. Then Myung arrives, meets Han-seop, and says, this ice cream is so good. Han-seop asks, where have you been? As Myung puts a bag of clothes in the car, he asks, what's in there? Myung responds, well, I've been living here. I realized there's a lot of stuff I need. So, I went to the city to buy some things. Han-seop says, didn't you say you've been to the city before? Myung hands her a bag with some stuff and says, take it. She opens it and finds a bunch of sweets. She's embarrassed and says, what's up with this? Then we cut to the guy who was at Myung's house going to the village leader and asks, did anything happen worth noting? The guy says, no, nothing. The village leader responds, really seems like there wasn't much after all. The guy says, I couldn't find anything. The leader says, well, I thought it might turn out like this. He asks, what happened to Seong-sek? The guy responds, when I looked at the injured area, it looked like it was done with an axe or something. The leader laughs loudly and says, he's really persistent. Then he says, all right. He asks, why didn't Han-seop come with you? The guy answers, I left him behind. I told him not to leave until he cleaned up the apartment well. The leader says, bring him here right now. We see Myung entering and spotting a bracelet on the floor. He says to himself, who the hell came into my house? Then we cut to Hyun-seop finishing cleaning and saying, finally, I can go home. But suddenly he hears a noise outside and gets scared. Please, God, don't let this be happening. Myung enters the house, startled, looking around to see if anyone's there. Han-seop peeks out the window to check if anyone came, and then Myung suddenly sneaks up behind him and catches him. Who are you? Han-seop jumps out the window, hurting himself. Myung chases after him, catches him, and slams him to the ground, asking, why did you come to my house? He says, did you suspect me after hearing what your grandmother said? It's really unpleasant, isn't it? He grabs him by the neck and says, isn't it? Did I make a bad first impression? That doesn't mean you can act like this, though. You came to my house when I wasn't here, looked out the window, and then ran like a dog. You know what? That's a crime. A crime. Do you get it? Then we cut back to the place where the car was taken out of the water. The officer looks at his assistant and says, what could possibly be found after being washed up up like this. Referring to the car, the assistant responds, but you're hoping to find something, right? The officer pauses, lost in thought, then abruptly changes the subject. Come on, let's go have a smoke. As they light up their cigarettes, the officer mumbles to himself, did the killer abandon his car because he knew there were no cameras within a 1-kilometer radius? The assistant nods. If it's that guy, he probably did. The officer exhales, frustrated. There's no way to know where he went from here. The assistant sighs. So what do we do now? Feels like the more we think, the more we end up right back at square one. The officer leans forward. First, we need to investigate the bodies properly. What was the reason for using a getaway car? He stretches his neck and mutters, I don't know anymore. That dark bastard. His eyes land on a road sign, 2 arrows pointing toward different cities. The village chief notices that Heinseab is late. The man with him stands up, determined. I'll go get him myself. The old man looks uneasy, his gut telling him something is wrong. As the man steps outside, he comes across someone standing there. You here to see the boss? Yeah, alright, go in. He's inside. The man enters and faces the village chief. I have something to tell you. The chief narrows his eyes. Why are you hesitating? Just say it. The man gulps, then says, I have something to give to the mother. The chief smirks. Good. Wait inside while I make a call. He dials a number. Park, could you stop by my house for a moment? Back to Millamyong, who has Inseob pinned to the ground by his neck. He watches as Heinseob finally gasps for air. On the brink of losing consciousness, he lets go. This time, you got off easy. But if you ever step into my house again, it's gonna end very differently. I'll destroy you. Just as Heinseob stumbles to get up, wham, he takes a brutal punch to the face. The attacker, the huge guy who had just told the village chief he was going to find Heinseob, he storms inside, furious. What the hell are you doing, jerk? Why were you choking Heinseob? Heinseob groans, getting back on his feet, rubbing his jaw. These guys are seriously driving me insane. Suddenly, the scene cuts to his friend's house. Her dad is sitting beside her, munching on cookies like always. She eyes him and asks, taste good? He immediately clutches the cookies closer. It's mine. She laughs. Did I say I wanted any? Grinning, she teases, chill out, eat slowly. No need to inhale them like that. She slides a chocolate bar toward him. They joke around for a while. Meanwhile, another man enters a market where his mom works. As soon as she sees him, she frowns. Where were you? He shrugs. Just went out for a bit after finishing work with the boss. Then he asks, did Gayun come by today? She rolls her eyes. Gayun again? How about asking what your mom has been up to for once? Aren't you curious? He replies. These days, Gayun doesn't call me. His mom asks, what's wrong? Doesn't she come to buy snacks once every 3-4 days? She was just here 10 minutes ago. He turns around and walks off. She asks, where are you going, kid? I'm going to her house to check on her, he says angrily, thinking to himself, she wasn't there when I passed by in the afternoon. Is she avoiding me? As he storms off, he runs into his brother Minsu. Where have you been? Minsu asks. For a guy who's too scared to even look in this direction, I wonder, what brings you here? Nothing special, Minsu replies. Then he notices something off, putting the pieces together. Ah, you came because of the boss, huh? Well done. You really thought it through. Minsu gets pissed, nearly throwing a punch, but ends up tearing up instead. His brother mocks him, laughing. You fucking bastard. Meanwhile, Millamyong is getting absolutely wrecked in a fight. The huge guy demands, I asked you why you hit Heinseob. Shouldn't you answer first instead of rushing in? Millamyong says, struggling to stand. Barely holding himself up, he glares and says, is there something wrong with your sense? If someone else walked into my house, then, he shouts in pure rage, isn't it only natural to attack them? He puts all his strength into a kick, but it doesn't do a damn thing. The guy's like a freaking rock. Millamyong scoffs. Are you that clueless? You're not even as strong as a bear, Heinseob. Heinseob smirks. You're dead, you jerk. He laughs mockingly. The big guy swings at Millamyong, but he dodges just in time, grabbing the guy's arm and landing a brutal punch right to his gut. The big guy flares up in rage, grabs Millamyong by the hair and throws him across the ground. Before he can react, he's already being lifted again and getting the absolute beating of his life. Heinseob just watches, smirking, enjoying every second of it. Then, the big guy tells Heinseob, let's go, and they leave Millamyong lying there, barely conscious, beaten to a pulp. Lying on the ground, laughing like a maniac, Millamyong mutters, that was really fun, right? Later, Heinseob is with his brother, grinning. I'm glad you're always by my side. And damn, I'm happy you beat the crap out of that idiot. Wish he got it even worse. Let's head to the city for drinks. My treat, he adds. But his brother remembers the punch he took from Millamyong and gets pissed again, his face twisting in pain. Go and report today's incident to the village head, he orders before storming off. Meanwhile, the detective arrives at a company where his old friend worked. Thanks for your hard work, he says. His friend looks shocked. What are you doing here? You really think you can just run away and not even look people in the eye? The detective asks. His friend panics. Sani Hyun, my man, where have you been? What's this? You want to disappear without any contact? Is the place they transferred you to really worth it? Don't you ever think about me? The detective replies coldly. I'll unpack later. Before leaving, he asks, aren't there 3 guys here suspected of aggravated robbery? They were locked up without detention, right? Yeah, his friend confirms. The detective turns to leave, adding, make sure to attend to them. His friend looks puzzled. Attend to them. Back at home, Millamyong sits outside, exhausted, smoking a cigarette. That pig. It'd definitely be hard to take him down just my bare hands, huh? He notices a loose wooden plank sticking out from his roof. What the hell happened to this? He mutters, annoyed. As he reaches to fix it, a small envelope falls to the ground. What's this? A bird perched on the roof suddenly flies away, startled by the sound of a hammer banging against the wood. A knock on the door. He opens it to find a girl standing there. I heard you fought with Uncle Silco, she says. Then, eyeing his bruised face, she frowns. What happened to you? It's no big deal. He shrugs. You didn't even treat your wound. She holds up a first aid kit. I had a feeling this would happen, so I brought this. She walks in, forcing him to sit down while she starts patching him up. Most of them are just bruises, he mutters. Aren't you putting too many band-aids? She replies. Since I applied the ointment, I have to put them too. Then he asks, how'd you even know? Know what? She asks. That I got hurt. She laughs. Isn't it obvious? You fought Sioko. No way you'd be fine after that. Then he asks, do you think the villagers all know each other really well? Like, very well. Of course, she says. How could they not? These houses are so tiny and crammed together. Everyone hears everything. This village is like a tree, she continues. The village head is the root, and everything branches out from there. So don't do things alone. Be careful. How about trying to rely on someone for once?